Good evening. Welcome in daily UPSC editorial audio program. One more change. Times of India. India's city needs a smart makeover. The Economic Times. Game changer. The Hindu. Now the full editorial. One more change. The Times of India. Amended bill on election commission is better. Even better would be unanimous decision making in selection committee. Times of India editorials. Government of India on Tuesday introduced amendments to a bill outlining the selection and service condition of election election commissioners. The original version of the bill was introduced in Rajya Sabha in August but did not make further progress. The changes might mitigate fears that the earlier bill diluted election commission's status and power. The Supreme Court judges as benchmark. An important change is restoring the pay of CEC and ECs to that of the level of Supreme Court judges. In the earlier version, it was pegged to a cabinet secretary's pay. In monetary terms, the revision has no meaningful impact on Government of India's annual budget of about 45 lakh crore. Hierarchy matters, pegging commissioner's salary to that of the cabinet secretary who heads the bureaucracy triggered disquietas. It was perceived as marking down the importance of election commission. The constitution's article 324 offers the CEC operational autonomy by saying dismissing election commission's chief must be as tough as dismissing an Supreme Court judge. The constitutional provision has been incorporated in the amendments. Election Commission also exercises quasi-judicial functions. The earlier bill created a perception of inconsistency that's now been addressed. Protection from lawsuit. Another change in the amendment bill that protects the operational freedom of Election Commission is a clause protecting them from lawsuits, civil and criminal, for anything spoken or done in the course of work. Such committee changes. The amendment puts the political executive in charge of preparing a short list of potential commissioners. The cabinet secretary has been replaced by the law minister as head of this committee. That that too is a note to the importance of election commission. But one more change needed. The choice of a commissioners rests with the three-member selection commission headed by the PM. The other two members will be a cabinet minister and the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha. The operating procedure for the search committee will be decided by it, which effectively puts the government of India in charge of picking a commissioner. In the interest of protecting the credibility of election commission in a political environment characterized by distrust, government of India should consider introducing a clause that mandates unanimity in the decision of the selection committee. Election Commission is one of India's critical constitutional bodies. Its credibility has kept India a vibrant democracy. This bill needs one more change to preserve it. India's cities need a smart makeover. The Economic Times. India's cities are unlivable. The India Infrastructure Report IAR 2023 released earlier this month focused on 7 themes of urban challenges: planning and governance, smart initiatives, public-private partnerships and financing, development projects, housing and migration, public service delivery, integrating infrastructure and urban redevelopment. 2 points stand out. The basic debilities are problems emerging from the dysfunctional organizations that characterize urban governance with no clear public accountability and the nature of master plans of cities. Yet, instead of blaming the design and planning errors, everyone blames the rising population. The high population density is forced upon people by planning that promotes highly regulated low FSI. resulting in cramped living spaces or pushing people into slum. Little little land is released for urban habitat, leading to extreme inequality in access to land and high unit cost of build-up spaces. The report also mentions that the government cannot alone pay for building infrastructure and private partnership was a financial necessity. By 2023 2036, 600 million people will live in cities representing 40% of the population. This will put additional pressure on the already stretched urban infrastructure and services with more demand of clean drinking water, reliable power supply, and efficient transport. A 2022 World Bank report says that India's cities require an estimated capital investment of 840 uh, $840 billion in urban infrastructure and municipal services in the 15 years till 2036. In 2022 prices equivalent to 1.18% of estimated GDP. India's urban challenges are not going to disappear. There is no way out of the mess but to invest handsomely in India's economic engines and shore up the governance structure. Game changer, The Hindu. Gene therapy offers new hope for those with sickle cell diseases. Less than a month after the UK drug regulator approved Casgevy, the gene therapy to treat people above 12 with sickle cell disease and beta thala, thala, thalassemia. The US FDA has approved two gene therapies, uh, Casgevy and Lyfgenia to treat sickle cell disease in patients over 12. Its decision on approving Casgevy gene therapy for treating beta thalassemia is expected by March 2024. These landmark decisions mark the beginning of the gene therapy using the CRISPR Cas9 tool to treat disease that could otherwise be cured only through bone marrow transplantation. While Lyfgenia uses a disabled lentivirus as a vector to introduce into a blood stem cells a new gene for hemoglobin that mimics the healthy version. Ca- Casgevy uses the gene editing tool for CRISPR Cas9 to disable a particular gene BCL11A that turns off for fetal hemoglobin production in blood stem cell, while about 10% of adults continue to produce fetal hemoglobin in others. The BCL11A gene prevents the production of fetal hemoglobin by disabling the BCL11A gene. Fetal hemoglobin that is produced, which does not have the abnormalities of adult hemoglobin, helps treat patients with sickle cell disease or beta thalassemia. thalassemia. In clinical trials, 28 of 29 sickle cell disease patients who received uh, Casgevy gene therapy were relieved of the debilitating effect of the disease for a year. For beta thalassemia, 39 of 42 patient did not require blood transfusion for 1 year, and in the remaining three, the need for blood transfusion reduced by more than 70%. In the case of clinical trials involving Lyfgenia, 30 of 32 sickle cell disease patients did not suffer from severe blood flow caused by sickle cell, while 28 of 32 patients did not experience any blocked blood flow events 6 to 18 months post infusion. Since both gene therapies use patients' own blood cells for gene editing, the number of patients who can potentially be treated will be huge as these treatments do not rely on matching bone marrow donors, but in reality, these treatments would be exorbitantly expensive, also much like bone marrow transplantation. Only certain hospitals will be equipped to extract a patient's blood stem cell and use a genetic editing tool to the stem cell before re-injecting them, thus limiting the number of beneficiaries with clinical trials. evaluating the therapies in a very small number of patients for a shorter duration. The compulsion to continuously monitor their safety and efficacy through real world data cannot be overemphasized. The possibility of unintended genetic modifications and their resultant side effects are real when the CRISPR uh, CAS9 tool is used. Thank you.